Thank you so much for joining. My name is Jane Marie from Kenya. We are happy to have you here. We have been having this capacity building webinar from the month of August to the chapter leaders here in Kenya. Today we have 3 speakers, and we are happy to have 3 speakers all the way from Kenya, Rwanda, and also the US. But the one in US is based here in Kenya. We are going to be looking at resource mobilization and management. I will give them this opportunity to introduce themselves. As the speaker, we have Rukundo. You can start with Rukundo, then go to Christine, then Roger. Thank you very much.
My name is Rukundo Kanyankole. I am from Rwanda by passport, but I'm an East African by belonging. Yeah? I'm a member of the Association of Teachers of English in Rwanda, and one of the founder members of the association that has been operating since 2010 for a little over 15 years now. I've served a couple roles. I was president of the association, then head of professional development, and currently chair of the board of advisors, a role that I find myself combining with the supporting teacher capacity building efforts to working closely with the COP, the Teacher Communities of Practice Coordination Team at national level, and then the Executive Committee for ATEL. And it's been a great pleasure more than a couple of times to collaborate with the teacher leaders and the English language teaching professionals and researchers within East Africa and beyond. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm one of the facilitators of this presentation together with Christine and Rogers, and with the oversight leadership from Jen. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
Thanks, Rukundo. Nice to meet you here again, and nice to meet you all if this is the first time, and to see some of you who I've already met before online and in person. So my name is Christine, and I'm an English language fellow in Kilifi, Kenya. And I have been working with LPAC for the last year, doing teacher training around activity-based, learner-centered instruction and trauma-informed practices and principles. And what else? I'm a lecturer at Pwani University. However, we are on strike right now. And I'm from California, and yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about resource mobilization with all of you.
We have now Rogers. Hi, Rogers.
Thank you, Jen. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rogers Ondiro from Siaya, Kenya. I'm a member of LPAC, but based mostly in Siaya. We have a chapter of LPAC known as Better Siaya. I'm the Secretary General of Better Siaya, a chapter of LPAC. I'm glad to be here and also to be part of the team that is facilitating this very important topic of resource management, mobilization and management. Let us work together, and I know we are going to enjoy the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our topic today is resource mobilization and management. And I'll give it over to the facilitator. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Jen. Members, welcome to this very important topic. Myself and Jen, we were in Egypt for a program, basically on leadership, that was offered by TESOL in partnership with Africa ELTA. And one of the major topics that was striking there was on resource mobilization and management. We realized that many associations are suffering from either inability to mobilize resources, or resources are there but are poorly managed, and therefore they are not able to carry out what they are able to do. So therefore this particular webinar is to enhance the teacher association capacity, our teacher associations, their capacity to organize, to mobilize, and be able to utilize the resources, some of the resources that we could be having, and we don't even know that there are resources that could be of help. So I believe this is a session that is going to maybe open our eyes and see maybe resources that we have not utilized or we have underutilized, and maybe come up with ways in which we are able to utilize them. And I believe that all of us here, we shall be able to make our associations even stronger through resource mobilization and management. This is a topic that once members are able to understand, leaders in the association are able to understand, then because most of the struggles we have, or even misunderstandings we have in associations, revolve around mobilization and management. We find maybe resources are there and are poorly managed. Grants sometimes come, sometimes we get donors who support us, but management become a real issue. So I believe that through this session, we shall be able to learn and grow together. Thank you. Let me usher in Rukundo.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rogers. Maybe the only one thing I can add here is that this is the second presentation webinar, second presentation in a series of webinars that are being implemented as a result of the attendance by a few LPAC members, the Africa Health Association, Teacher Association. And the first one was emotional intelligence and leadership. And then the next, which is this one, it was a combination of resource mobilization and resource management, and how that impacts on the work that teacher associations do to improve the ability of their teachers in relation to effective classroom practice and teacher development. So before we go to the next slide, those of you that are on the chapter leads group from Kenya and the colleagues from Rwanda, we shared with you a very brief, like half a page reading that I would like to hear. Are there any takeaways, that just one takeaway that you thought is something new that you've learned from this reading that maybe you want to reflect on a little bit more as we progress through this presentation? You can unmute and take maybe 1 minute or less, or you can type in the chat. Jen is managing the chat, and we'll be able to facilitate that. So over to you, the participants. For those who are able to read it, if you are not able to read it, that's fine. But I'd like to hear if anyone was able to read it and would like to share their takeaways. Just one takeaway.
Thank you very much, Rukundo. This is Jean-Marie from ATE. I tried to go through this article, and one of the things that remained in my mind is that so the resource mobilization that is very important for our association of teachers of English in Rwanda. And as Rogers said, you see, sometimes our associations get grants and you have the resources, and maybe we don't manage them well, or there are the many resources which are around us, and we don't know that they can be well managed and used. So one thing that remains in my mind is that the members of our associations are are like the clients. They are like our customers, and we have to serve them. Although we are working as volunteers, but still they are our clients, and making sure that our organization is serving where our clients. We need to keep where any kind of resource that we have we keep using them continually. So comparing the teachers as the clients of the association or of our organization is something very important, and I have to keep the culture as a business people who try to do their best so that they cannot lose their clients, or that they cannot um, be in a lack of providing the resources or the goods to their clients. Thank
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jean-Marie, for sharing. Anybody else has any comment? Jen, is there anything in the chat?
Yes, we have from Kip. It says resources have to be earned and are not guaranteed. Yes.
Yeah. Colleagues, participants, any other brief comments, takeaways from from the reading?
We also have Juliet here from Atel says, my takeaway from the reading was that the resource mobilization and availability leads to scale and sustainability of projects, but I would like to add that it requires designing clear processes and procedures to manage these resources.
Yeah, thank you so much. One more. All right, if anything comes up, please type it in the chat. And like I said, Jen is monitoring that. So next, these are the objectives that we thought are in line with the need for training on resource mobilization and management. On the one hand, in the context of Kenya, but on the other hand, as Jean-Marie said, I think this can be related to many other training needs in any teacher association in regard to maximizing the impact of the available resources and being able to identify new ones. So I think Roger's here. What we can do, let's ask members to just read aloud, just in case somebody is having maybe technical issues or something. So who would like to read the first bullet?
Jean-Marie.
Go ahead.
Clearly explain what resource mobilization and management entail, including types or examples of resources.
Exactly. So we'll cover that content during this presentation. Next, someone else?
Thank you. The second bullet outline the effective strategies for mobilizing resources.
Exactly. And you as participants are going to be involved in this so that on the one hand, the strategies can be related to the contexts in your chapters and communities of practice, but on the other hand, so that you can reflect on and own the strategies. Someone, the third bullet?
I can read the third bullet. evaluate current resource management practices within the TA chapters.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think some of this content is going to be led by Christine, the English language fellow in Kenya, and she has lots of experience in this area. So keep your eyes open. The last one.
So the last one reads, discuss common gaps in resource mobilization and management along with sustainable solutions.
Yeah, amazing. And again, Christine, the English language fellow, will cover some of this content in a moment. So the next slide will take us into a group activity that Rogers and I will co-facilitate. And then Christine will help us to go into breakout rooms. And then she will post the questions or reflection questions in the chat so that you can keep track of that. Over to you, Christine, to put us in breakout rooms. But the idea here is that we take some time to reflect on everything that we do in regard to resource mobilization, organization,
So Rukundo, do you want to go? Oops, do you want to, what are they going to be brainstorming? Do you want to put those in the, in the chat? I'm just putting people in. Oops. Okay. Did everybody go into their rooms? Cosmas? Jane, were you able to go into your rooms? Okay. Antoine, Beatrice, can you go into your rooms? Cosmas?
They just joined, so they are not allocated rooms.
Yeah, so can they see what they're supposed to do in the breakout? That was my question there.
I don't think they can. I think Rukunda was kicked out.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to do that before. Hold on.
It appears there was some tech challenges. Some of the groups where they were not able to access the questions. But now can everybody see the slide where we have the questions that discussed in the breakout rooms?
You'll have to reshare, Rukundo. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I have to reshare on. I don't know what went wrong. Okay, so let me do that right now.
So I put the questions in the chat. Did you not see them in the groups? No? Okay.
Okay, so can you see the slide with the questions now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you remember who you were with in the groups. If you could please share your thoughts on the 4 questions. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, those who are in room 1 can begin, or
Yeah.
or any other that is ready.
Yeah, thanks, Rogers. Group 1, group 2, group 3. Any group that is ready.
Hey, Rukundo, why don't we just go over each question, or excuse me, each bullet point,
Okay.
and see what people have to say. How's that? They can
Okay,
unmute
cool.
or put something in the chat.
Yeah. Thanks, Christian. So please unmute or put something in the chat. We'll start with question 1. What's your understanding of these 2 concepts, resource mobilization and resource management? And you had a reading, and then you've already done some brainstorming. So go ahead, unmute or type in the chat, and Jen is managing the chat.
Hi, Lukunda. In our group, we did not manage to get the questions, but then we tried to discuss, since the topic was about resource mobilization and management. One of the team members was like, what kind of resources? Is it human resource or is it material resource? And so we were trying to look around, like what strategies can we use and where do we find those resources. So one of the members was like, do we find the resources from donors or do we find resources from within us or within our communities, such a kind of things. That's where we are just by the time we are making.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jury. We didn't hear some of that. It sounded like you have something going on in the background. So if maybe you could type in the chat to summarize so that others can hear it. Any other comments on or thoughts on bullet 1? Please unmute or type in the chat.
Yes, we have one in the chat box. Naomi says, I think resource mobilization. Yes. Let me read the chat and then I can speak. Thank you. Naomi says, I think resource mobilization involves identification and organization of various resources within an organization. That's from Naomi. Thank you.
Somebody go ahead and speak, please.
I think resource management involves the planning, allocating, monitoring, and taking control of the resources available, which can be monetary or financial. We can even have the human aspect and the equipment or supplies available.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Any other? Jane, do you have anything in the chat before we go to bullet 2?
Yes, there is. There was someone who was speaking. I don't know. She.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As my colleague has said about resource management, let me talk about resource mobilization. For me, I think resource mobilization refers to all activities involved in securing existing and new resources within any association or organization. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So keep typing in the chat if you remember something you want to share, either from the group or by looking at these questions. So the next bullet I think is really important, and that is what are the types of local resources that exist in your chapter communities in Kenya or communities of practice in Rwanda, and what strategies do you use to identify them? Again, you can unmute and give us a brief response or type in the chat.
There's a lot going on in the chat. Thank you guys for engaging.
Good, good.
Just answering the first question, Catherine says resource mobilization and management is seeking identification, gathering, organization, allocation, and utilization of available resources for the growth of a chapter or an organization. Then Isaac says resource mobilization entails acquiring the means needed to an action plan that a group has identified. Then John says resource mobilization involves identification, planning, and availing tools available. Let me start. Availing tools used in teaching and learning. Then Cosmas, resource mobilization is identifying and planning what is needed for a group to carry out a project or anything. Then we have Beatrice, anything we can hold on to helps advance the goal of the project, human, finance, technical, and material. Then we have Christine says it also includes sensitizing members about available resources they could utilize, e.g. websites. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, excellent. I think you would agree that this information you are sharing here is right on target of the in relation to the goal that for this presentation, and like I said, let's continue sharing on the chat, and we can come back to this as we go through the presentation. I think the last two bullets, are there any external resources you have leveraged to sustain chapter activities? We can cover this content in the next few slides. And what are some of the strategies you have used? As I said, Christine, the English language fellow, is going to cover this content. So I think what we'll do now, so that we don't run out of time, is to go to the next slide, which I will ask Rogers to facilitate. Christine, do you think it would be a good idea to go back to breakout rooms given the challenge that we had, or you want us to do this as a whole group?
I think I set up the breakout rooms again, so hopefully they'll work. I think the problem is we need to put the information in the chat before. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we weren't
Mhm.
fast enough last time.
Yeah. So so maybe let's everybody take a minute. The slide should be on your screen, whether it's a phone or a computer. So just read through. It's a scenario that would like you to read through and then discuss and share your thoughts based on this scenario. Rogers, do you have anything to add?
I think we can just go ahead. Maybe I read through so that everybody gets it clearly.
Please.
The scenario activity we are going to discuss here is a teacher association has recently grown by 25% in its membership, which has increased the demand for services such as professional development workshops, advocacy efforts, and communication resources. However, budget constraints and limited volunteer time pose challenges to effectively meeting the demands that are up there. So each group will discuss and present the analysis and a proposed solution to the teacher association. So there's a teacher association that is being faced by a crisis as a result of increased membership. So as we go into our breakout rooms, we can discuss what could be the way forward, what could be the solutions that we could propose, maybe to address or remedy this kind of situation. Thank you, Rokundo.
Yeah, and as you reflect on this, put yourself in the place of one of the leaders of this association. What would you do? So I think, Christine, now you can put us in breakout rooms.
Okay, so before we do the breakout rooms, I just put the slide in the chat. If everybody wants to copy that slide in the chat. And then you can, just in case it doesn't go through, we can, you can put it in your own chat when you get into your breakout room, just so we don't run into that problem.
Yeah.
Okay, did everybody copy? Or at least one of you? Okay, I'm gonna open the rooms. Here we go. So go ahead and join. So Khadija, Rogers, Dan, Ombiru, can you join your groups? Join the breakout groups, please.
Rogers, are you there?
He's joining now. I think he got kicked out.
It appears the internet can sometimes play games on us. Can people see the slide?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah, I reshared. I realized before I didn't realize that when we went to breakout rooms, it removes me from sharing. So it looks like I think everybody is back. Rogers, do I have you here? Okay, while we wait for Rogers, I think this time groups worked really well, and I entered a few rooms and I had great on target, excellent discussions. So why don't we hand it over to groups, and maybe for efficiency, we can start with group one. Group one, would you like to go ahead and share the outcome of your discussions? I think Rogers is back. Rogers, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Rukunda. I was kicked out for a while, but I'm back.
I'm so sorry. I'm handing it back to you to facilitate the discussion around this scenario activity.
Thank you. Just as Rukundo has said, thank you so much. Group one, maybe what you discussed from the scenario, and maybe you would want to present, you can unmute, and then you share your thoughts on this scenario activity. Who is ready?
Okay, I can't quite remember which group we were in, but probably I could just go ahead and talk about our group. And our understanding of the case study was that in this situation, there is increased demand. And so this calls for more, we have to have demand in terms of the aspects such as professional development and then communication resources. And we looked at with the budget limitations and what else we can do. We started by going looking inwards. The teachers, what can the members volunteer or what can they do from themselves even before going out to look for help from outside? And we came down to volunteering your time and also having prioritizing some of the services that we have, such as the main one being professional development. We looked on to ensuring that we have the leaders being going through training so that can trickle down to the members, whereby now the leaders can go down into training every other or the members in different aspects. I think that and together with factors such as leveraging social media and these are looking now outwards. When we look outwards, we look at leveraging social media to find like-minded people who are able to support our initiatives and our goals, who are aligned with them, and also applying for sponsorships from these volunteer programs and for funding. I think that was what we covered.
Thank you, Kip. Volunteering, I have gotten that from your presentation. Volunteering is a very important aspect in growing up associations, especially in light of or in times when we have budget constraints and things have to run. So there are things that instead of paying for the services, members would just volunteer and be able to do them. And I believe that also social media, just the way you've talked about it, could also help us reach out to many people and also enhance these issues about communication resources. Thank you very much from your group. Somebody else? You can unmute.
Thank you, Rogers, for our group. Hello.
Yes, Antonin.
For our group, we found the case scenario very, very real, because it seems we have, in our organization, we have really faced similar problems, similar challenges, where the numbers of members have increased and then the the resources are really not available. So we were sharing a particular scenario where we were to organize a conference, and we thought that members would come, and we advertised and everything. At the end of it all, we had very few people coming, and those people who came, the monies that they paid was not enough, and we really needed to give enough information to the members that attended. So the members, the officials had to go out of their way to really foot all the bills. And it was quite a challenge for us. So the case scenario is very real in our group. So we have said that moving forward, I think more sensitization of members communication to the members, particularly to let them know that such a group is to build their professional development and not merely for financial gains. So when this is communicated to them, members will come knowing that it is for their own good, for their own professional growth. So they will not demand so much. Secondly, we also agreed that when members have this information, they build together to grow the group goals. So it is a shared responsibility, so that each member of the group is doing their bit to make sure that the group grows and achieves the objectives that are set. Secondly, we have also agreed that they have to volunteer, particularly when the resources that are available can be used to help grow few members who are able to share, volunteer, even in building the capacities of other members, so that the presentations are done from within the groups, because each member of the group is able to do one or two things. So they volunteer and they help accordingly. More sensitization and advocacy so that other members can also join in. Apart from that, apply for funding and support and use social media, as others have said, so that they are able to use as little as they can on building the capacities of each other. We also talked about maybe using the smaller groups, like if there are schools that are neighboring each other, then we can have these groups move to the neighboring schools, and they help each other to capacity build, other than having them move around to go to far distances. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. That was quite good from your end, especially use of local expertise instead of bringing people from out who sometimes demand some money for all that. I think using local expertise can really be of great help in an organization. It really helps us a lot. I can see since both groups of, that is Christine says, since both groups mentioned volunteering, it is really good to the idea to have explicit roles and responsibility, timelines, and accountability outcomes for volunteer activities. That is good. I like the point of facilitating the volunteers from the group to appreciate them and encourage them. Thank you very much. Thank you for your sentiments. Thank you for your sharing. We can now move forward to the next slide. Rukundo.
Yeah, and again, participants can continue typing in the chat.
Yes.
Jen is monitoring and will share at the end, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that in the engagement here focuses on sharing what we know, what we've learned, best practices, etc. as you're doing. So the next slide, over to you, Kristen.
Great, thank you. I've been listening to all of you and trying to see what are some of the common themes and where we can help each other to find out where we start, what are our action steps, what are our strategies, and also how we can support each other in prioritizing these common themes. So my question would be, what are some of the gaps in resources in the context of chapter activities in Kenya? And I think there are also people from Rwanda here too. So of course, include from your local community. What are the gaps in resources? Can you press the next one so we can give people some prompts to brainstorm? So some of the gaps could be financial, human, material, knowledge, time, communication, internal expertise. So could anybody talk about the gaps in terms of this first bullet point? What are maybe your top 3 gaps? And of course, you can put something in the chat, or you can you can unmute and talk about what are some gaps in resources. Anybody? So Jane, did you want to say something?
Yeah, maybe I can stay on the national level. We have
Sure.
we have financial challenges, sometimes time, and I think right now we are able now we are able now to start working with the chapter leaders. We have been able to start leveraging on the human resource. Thank you.
And if I may, Christine, share from an experience from Rwanda.
Yes.
And my colleagues will agree, colleagues that are here from Rwanda, that the Association of Teachers of English in Rwanda has never had a challenge around applying for grants and being able to succeed and get money to implement teacher professional development programs and activities. The biggest challenge, the gap that is here, is finding people that are able, they are willing, but because they are doing other jobs and they have families, they have engagements, social community engagements. So it becomes very challenging sometimes to find individuals that have enough time to adequately utilize external funding to implement activities both at community of practice level and at the national level with the Association of Teachers of English in Rwanda, to be able to make use of these funds to improve English and teaching abilities of teachers in Rwanda. And as you all know, Rwanda transitioned to English as a medium of instruction in 2008, and there are lots of teachers that are still struggling, especially in primary, in elementary grades, to design and deliver instruction in English language. So we don't have a problem with money, but finding people to use this money to improve teaching and learning for learners through teacher training and professional development is the challenge that we normally encounter.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge challenge too, because you have a big systemic and cultural change around your entire education system, and having that time and professional development to facilitate that change is really, really imperative.
Yeah, we have.
So go ahead, Jane. Yeah.
Thank you. So we have Jean says time, financial, and knowledge. Kip says, I think in Kenya, the knowledge, financial, and internal expertise are a big challenge. Then we have Rogers, gaps in human resources. Where is it? Sorry. Human resources. Many members are looking for immediate rewards instead of growing the association through volunteering. Then you have Christine. I think there are gaps in knowledge, especially in emerging trends and incorporating IT tools in teaching. Then you have Isaac from Group 5. It brought out two things: efficiency in leadership and growth by members. Thus, reviewing the budget, writing proposal, leveraging in technology for meetings, clustering members based on location could be embraced. The high number would translate to more bargaining power than, or even partnership. Then Catherine says, Mr. Rukundo, share part of that money to Kenya, please.
I love that.
we can teach you tricks that we actually not tricks, like we've created a system and we have a pool of individuals. I think now we have more than 10, and each time there is an opportunity to apply for a grant, and then we have a meeting, and these are usually virtual meetings, and then among us 3 to 4 people sign up to coordinate and write a grant, and we've written like 6 grants, and only one of those grants was denied, and it was also denied on the basis that it was understood as a top-down kind of a teacher development framework, which was true, and then we had to shift to something more bottom-up approach to teacher professional development and capacity building to improve classroom instruction. So yes, we can collaborate. We know how to look for money, but sometimes we lack people to use it.
We could help you with that, certainly.
Yeah.
We certainly have the know-how at LPAC. Yes. So I think, talking about the gaps, my suggestion to you at the national level or in your chapters is identify the gaps. What are all of the gaps? And do this in an inclusive way with your entire group. And then choose the top 3 gaps together. Because there's so many gaps anywhere in the world, whatever the industry is, whatever the topic, there's always going to be gaps. But as a group, come up with a priority. What are the top 3 gaps that you would like to, as a group, tackle first? And then we get to the strengths, barriers, challenges, and solutions. So once you identify those gaps as a group, that's when you talk with your chapter, and you talk about what your chapter's strengths are. Barriers are also, what are the barriers to filling those gaps? Barriers or challenges pretty much are the same thing. And then what are the ways or solutions to overcome the barriers and challenges to fill those gaps? So you need to look at your strengths, and also I think what I need to put on this too, I'm going to put it here in the chat. Strengths, everybody knows challenges, opportunities, and gaps. Okay, and that I call I made up a new one. Instead of a SWOT analysis, I call it a SCOG analysis. So in education, SWOT analysis, in my opinion, is a little too businessy. So I talk about the strengths, challenges, opportunities, and gaps. So looking at the gaps first, you want to identify the top 3. And then you want to look at the challenges next. What challenges or barriers are there to filling those gaps? And then you are going to look at your group, your communities, opportunities, and strengths in order to identify the challenges and the barriers, and then come up with solutions to fill those gaps. Does that sound like a way of looking at your chapter to be, number 1, inclusive, and number 2, action-oriented? So if you're always working on a project, it gets people to be more committed, and they might find time if they feel like they are doing something that has a real outcome. Would anybody like to comment on that, or have a question, or any additional information, how that might relate to your community? And you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, maybe Christine, in the interest of time, and I'm sure everybody is thinking about this and reflecting on this, can continue typing in the chat, because the last slide on this deck is final reflections and next steps. Maybe we can fold that into the closing, and I think Jane will have a system to record the outcome and share with members afterwards. How is that?
Perfect. Yeah, should we go to the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this, so discuss effective resource management strategies and program sustainability. So one of the top ways, I think one of the things that we think of automatically for resource mobilization is applying to grants or some type of funding. And so when it comes to applying to grants, I would say the top 2 things that we all need to consider when applying is who are our partners, and what is the same sustainability. I would say those are the top 2 things that grant readers, funders are looking at. So can you put the rest of the bullet points on there?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. All right, so once you get some funding, or you do your SCOG analysis of what your gaps are, opportunities, strengths, and challenges, you want to think about maximizing the impact and keeping track of your resources. Financial resources are huge, really, really huge. But as Rukundo said, is having the financial resources is not always what gets you to where you need to go. You also need that human capacity. So talking about financial resources, for me, the most important when working as a group and being responsible with those resources is always working in a transparent and trustful way. So sharing where the money is going and what the impacts that money is making. I could go on and on and on and talk about logic models and all sorts of things, but I will not bore you. But if you would like more information on that, I could certainly provide that. And then sustainability training and development. So sustainability scaling, that is so important, because you have to keep your chapter active, you have to keep your chapter committed. And one of the things that we did in LPAC this past year is when we decided what our theme would be for the year, we included members to also co-facilitate and present on topics that interested them, that they were passionate about, but also interested in the group. So I would say making sure that each one of your members as a volunteer has skin in the game. And when I say skin in the game, it means that they are going to be co-presenters. They are going to be deciding what we're going to, what the group is going to be talking about, and really have an active participation, just like we want in our classrooms. I think leadership, enhancing leadership skills right here, this is what you're doing, and you're all helping each other. Ownership and accountability, that's kind of what I talked about with the co-facilitation and buy-in from your group members. Time and efficiency, this is really important because we all have to balance our personal and professional lives. And so that time and efficiency is really important. And I think it's also cultural. How I see time and efficiency, how somebody from Rwanda might see time and efficiency, and someone from Kenya might be a little bit different culturally, but also individually. So take that into effect of how we might be able to take time and efficiency and work together to come up with a collaborative time and an idea of efficiency. Communications, I think that is also very important, and your group will have to come up with the best way to communicate, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's email, using a calendar, in person, online, so many ways of communicating and collaborating. Partnerships and networks, these are so important because the more you grow your network and your partnerships, the more resources you're going to have of every kind, whether it's financial or whether it's human. And I'm just going to give you an example. I have a pretty large network in Kenya, thanks to LPAC, thanks to the United States Embassy, thanks to Pwani University. So today I am meeting a group that I've never met before. They're coming up to Kilifi from Mombasa, and their program is helping university students, particularly students whose family do not have the means to pay for school fees, and they help students, university students, pay these school fees. So I have another group that I know, a long-standing, NGO in Kilifi, and this group does the same thing, but they help students at the elementary school or secondary school at that level to pay school fees, to have their basic needs met so that they can have better academic outcomes in schools. So when this group comes today, from Mombasa, I'm going to meet them today, and then tomorrow we're going to go have tea and cake at this other NGO so that they can join forces. And so when I talk about partnerships and networks, constantly building that network, constantly building that partnership, those partnerships are super important. And then appropriate allocation of resources, equity and inclusivity. I think I kind of talked about that in the first bullet point. So if there's any questions or comments, I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a rundown of how I look at resource management and strategies. And then I think we have about 9 minutes left. And so I think we have a few more slides. If anybody would like to put anything in the chat, questions, comments, please go right ahead. And I'm going to turn it back to, I don't know, Rukundo or Jane.
Yeah, maybe me. One thing I really want to highlight here, two things. One, networking is one of the big things in terms of knowing where the resources are. So in Rwanda, there is a sort of slogan or saying that, if I may translate in English, that information really, really matters. Without information, you can't be able to do anything. So networking gives you information and gives you the need to know individuals that can direct you where the resources are, including money. And then you can look for that. You can earn it. You have to work really hard to earn it. And that's what I wanted to add. And then appropriate allocation of resources, because the people who give you the resources, they want to know if you are maximizing the impact of what you're doing as a result. So and that's the other thing we do when we have a grant, when you have resources. It's not only being accountable and excellent reporting, but we want to make sure that they are impactful, that what it does is more sustainable, and it helps to improve practices of teachers that are benefiting from these resources, including financial resources. I just wanted to add that as a kind of tip for those that might be interested. Thank you. All right.
I don't know.
So as people continue to type in the chat, and maybe we'll have a few minutes at the end of this session to do a final reflections. So I'll go to the next slide for Jen and Rogers to take us through that, I think, as way forward. Over to you, Jen and Rogers.
Right. Thank you, Rukunda. Thank you, Christine. I don't know about the others, but there's quite a lot to learn here and pick and also be able to implement as we go back to our chapters. So as I had initially said when we began these sessions, is that we would like to support you, and we would like for you to just come up with a plan of how you can grow your chapter, since some of these chapters that we have, we just they recently were formed at the beginning of the year. So as you go back home, not really home, but as you go back and meet with other leaders, as you meet as a chapter leader, as chapter leaders, you can have a sit down and look at the different strengths that you have as a chapter, and also the gaps and the challenges you're going through, just what Christine has taken us through, and what are the opportunities you have, and how do you plan to overcome those challenges that you are facing as a chapter. So mine is just to request you to just go to the chat box. I have shared a Google form for feedback that is going to help you when it comes to action planning based on what we have been learning today. As individuals, you can first fill in the form. Then after you're done, then you can come together as a group and discuss what everyone has presented. I can also make this feedback form available to each one of you once you have filled in, and share with the different chapter leaders that are here and see what each one of you is thinking. We have so many resources. I know some, when we are discussing, we are looking at the different resources that we might be lacking, but also have very many resources that are available for us as chapter leaders, so that we can be able to grow and have more numbers as chapters, and be able to be independent as chapters. Like, for example, the Coastal chapter has their own thing running. We have Nairobi chapter having their own program running, Siaya, Kisumu, Nakuru, and even Turkana. So this action planning will help you, will give you at least a picture of or a way to just reflect of how far or where you are as a chapter. So I'm requesting you to kindly fill in the form right now. We have around 4 minutes to complete. Then we can go to the next slide. If you have any questions, next slide, please, or any reflection from today's webinar, please write down at the chat box. Meanwhile, we can still be filling in the Google form and also sharing our thoughts. Christine says here, I would be glad to help chapters with strategic sessions online with your members. Thank you so much, Christine. This is very, very nice of you. Yes, we have Christine here, who is willing. She actually helped us last year when we were closing the year to just look at she has called it SCOG, Strengths, Challenges, Opportunities, and Gaps. So please fill in the form, then we can have a session with her where as leaders you can be able to see how you can be able to just grow your membership and also your chapter. Yes, so thank you, Christine, for that. Yes. So please fill in the form. If you have any question here, please kindly put it down at the chat. Yes.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
amazing.
Mhm.
Rogers, any final reflections?
I think he was kicked out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he has been having issues with the internet. Yes. So feel free, share it also with your chapter leaders, those who are not able to come in because we had a few apologies. So feel free to share it with your with other chapter leaders to be able to just grow as chapters and make your chapters great and have more impact on the ground. There's so much that a chapter can do, and there are so many people also to collaborate with. I like that example given by Christine that she's meeting some partners today who are going to eventually also meet with other partners tomorrow, doing the same thing but at different levels. And there's so much to learn from each other. So I want to appreciate the facilitators team. Thank you so much for this session. It was such a reflective one and a good one to start with. So that we can just be able to know what we have at our hand and how we can use it. Thank you for our visitors from Rwanda. Thank you for sharing your expertise. We really appreciate your time and resources. And
thank you.
Yes. So yeah. Thank you so much. Anyone else with something? Like to take? Then we can close our meeting.
Can we hear? It sounds like the volume is down. Amazing.
Yeah, we can hear. We have Christy says it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Christy.
Jen, is there anything in the chat before we sign off that that you did not touch on?
Not really, but
Okay.
maybe. But there are few. Christine says, thank you, everyone. Looking forward to working more with you. Then you have Isaac, great session it was. We need one in plan. Thank you. Please put it in the feedback form. There's a place for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we can still continue having these sessions until we be where we are satisfied now.
Exactly.
And we're really equipped. Thank you so much. Yes. Then we have
it's a great honor for us in Rwanda to be part of this initiative, and we are happy to continue to engage with LPAC and chapter leaders specifically. So thank you so much. We appreciate the partnership. And it's a pleasure to meet Christine online, the English language fellow. We have another Christine from Rwanda here. And look forward to continuing the collaboration and cross-border networking. Thank you so much, all of you, and thanks to the participants. It's a weekend, it's Saturday, so this time you are giving volunteers as volunteers. It's appreciated and valuable, and I believe the teachers that you represent feel the same. So keep doing it, keep giving back. Knowledge sharing and good practice sharing is what actually constitutes teacher professional development basics of networking and collaborating. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. We can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Need more like this.
Sure. Thank you so much.